can youth grow up worshipping Allah? And what role do parents play in this respect? Assalamu alaikum and welcome to a new episode of Youth Talk. First of all, I'll introduce my guests in the studio. I have with me Sheikh Waleed Basyouni, the instructor at the American Open University in Virginia, Imam of the Clear Lake Islamic Center in Houston, and a member of the Fatwa Committee in the Muslim Jurist in North America. Pleasure having with us, Sheikh Waleed.
It's my pleasure, Karim.
I'll also like to welcome my participants. I have to my left Abdullah, who is a computer programmer, as well as Muhammad, a translation manager, and on my right I have another Muhammad, who is an English translator. Sheikh Waleed, we are talking about an important subject, I think, about youth growing up worshipping Allah. What is so special about the age or this time period in one's life, youth, and being brought up worshipping Allah?
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashraf al-anbiya wal-mursaleen, Nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. All praise due to Allah, and His praise and blessings and peace be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his family and his companions and his followers until the Day of Judgment. Youth is the most important period of our life. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to ask us about this period of life specifically. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, every children of Adam will be asked in the Day of Judgment about four things. It's interesting to know, he will be asked about his age, which include his youthhood. Then again the hadith goes, and he will be asked about his youth, as if he will be asked about it twice. So that shows you that is a very important period of time in our life. And let me define youth, how the Muslim scholars define youth. They said youth start from 15, when you reach the age of 15 years old, all the way to 40 years old. They consider this youth. So if you're 39, 38, you're still youth. But really, what's so special about this period of time? One, youth is the fastest area you're going to go through in your life. You know, you just, in no time, you start your youth, you end up, you find yourself out. So the youth era, or this period of time, is really short in a sense that you will not feel it. In no time you said, oh, I used to be young. And you will feel that just in a little bit if you go and reach 40. That's one. Two, youthhood, or that period of time in your life where your desires are so strong, your emotions are so strong, but in the same times, your wisdom is not complete, and your logic is not the thing which is control your way of acting and thinking. You see that youth, mostly what drive them is emotions more than logic. But after 40s, maybe logic will take over the person's and will drive him and will be more like
control
a person.
of how he thinks and how,
yes,
of his life.
like intellectual and things like this. He will be interested in these things more, mostly. And also, youth are the target of most of the institutions exist in this industry world, especially when it comes to entertainment business. You also, they concentrate on youth. Even now, these days, like selling and buying, they concentrate on youth. So you are a central of the attention of the world. Everybody thinking about the youth.
The majority is the youth in many
Yes,
societies.
in many societies, the majority is the youth, especially in Muslim society. especially in Muslim society.
I think that the key of any society is the youth, because those are the future.
Yes.
Are they going to be productive societies, or are they going to be consumer societies? Because that's what we are suffering from right now.
Absolutely. Also, youth, they busy with so many things, more than anybody else. You know, when you're a kid, when you're a child, there is not much things it's not much thing in your life. But when you start your youth, you start thinking about your future, about your career, about your future spouses, about how to finish your education, how to build a house, where you're going to live, and all these things. But usually when you reach the age of 40, you're already settled. So that era, you're too busy, you have a strong emotion, strong desires, you have so many people try to outreach you, and sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way, like most of entertainment movies, entertainment institutions try to reach you. If you talk about movies, they're targeting youth. If you talk about singers and songs, they're targeting youth. Video games, they're targeting youth. You know, all these institutes and organizations, they think about you, how to get you, how to get advantage of you as a part of the society. So that's what make, I think, youth are center of attention. That's what make that era is very, very important.
It is without doubt, as you mentioned, that youth represents a very critical period in our lifetime, and it is without doubt also that a youth who grows up worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one of Allah's most beloved servants. But when we turn to the youth age, a youth, starts looking at the world differently. He lives in a world which is full of temptations, full of, how can we build a true Muslim youth? How can we make him avoid falling into such temptations which fill the world around him? So,
yeah, I think this is a big challenge. And that's why I think we're talking about here. It's how to be among those who will grow up worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because as we all know, the Prophet ﷺ said, 7 people will be in the shade of Allah, or the shade of Allah's throne on the Day of Judgment. One of them, a youth who grew up worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think there are so many points can be covered in regard to this issue. But if you allow me, before going to this point, I want to clarify some misconceptions about youth.
Some people may say that that there's a contradiction, for example, between youth and between being religious, or that youth are always unreliable. It's a phase in one's life when he kind of like moves around without thinking properly, without being logical or rational.
Absolutely. So, when you think about youth, usually don't think about a religious person, or he or she. Youth, like 15, 16, 18, 20s. That's why even when you say to somebody, I'm going to Hajj, and he sees you like young, he tells you, Hajj, you're not old yet.
You're not old enough.
Hajj is for all people, not for youth. Wearing hijab, she's still young for to wear hijab. As if hijab for old women. SubhanAllah, the opposite. Old women in Islam, they've been giving the permission not to put full hijab, but young one, they are the one should put hijab, but it's the other way around. Also, sometimes when some people see me growing my beard, they tell me, you're too young for that. I said, I'm not too young for that, but anyway, young cannot grow his beard. Why is that? Even in English, they said clean shave. And by the way, I don't like this terminology because it gives another, the opposite, as if you grow your beard is not clean. It's not a clean shave, it's just shave. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so some people, they think when you're religious, they cannot imagine a religious person who's young. That's why they will be surprised, amazed with such person. But I will tell you that in the Prophet ﷺ's hadith, in the Prophet ﷺ's sunnah, we found a hadith Uqba radiallahu anh, that the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah will be amazed with a young man who growing up without committing sins, or without being involved in or following his desires. No, it doesn't mean literally not committing sins, not a single sin. No, but he's not a person who following his desires. He fully committed to his religion. He's a religious person. يَعْجَبُ رَبُّكُم مِّنَ الشَّعْبِ لَيْسَ لَهُ صَبْوَةٌ. Even there is a debate between the scholars of hadith, about the authenticity of the narration, but so many said it's an acceptable narration. But it is something unique. And also, so many people think about youth, they think that youth are people, as you just said, you can rely on them, you can depend on them, you can trust them.
And here's the point, that youth actually suffer from these contradictions.
Yes.
Actually, the old generation look at them and say, yeah,
you know nothing.
You know nothing, and you have done nothing. You know about our days, our era, we have done this and this and this, and this generation is... And they are just blaming them and putting a lot of pressure on them. However, as the poet said, نَعِيبُ زَمَانَنَا وَالْعَيْبُ فِينَا. Yani, that we blame our time, but
and we are to blame.
Yeah,
It is
it's
us
us,
who should be blamed.
yeah, to be blamed.
Yeah. And
So how could we be able to guide this new generation? I mean, to safeguard our future.
And on the other hand, for some people, a religious young man is the one who stays at home. He doesn't involve in any societal activity. He doesn't have fun. He just prays, fasts. That's it.
And how could
that's unfortunately sad.
Yeah.
That people, they have this kind of misconceptions about youth, about being religious. But again, we have to emphasize that youth are responsible people. Because if Allah trusts them with the most important responsibility, which is religion, which is practicing the religion, being Muslim, being mu'min. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that this is a trust, amana. This religion is trust. And it's been given to you. When you are 15 years old or older, you are a person who called in the Sharia mukallaf, responsible. Allah will ask you about your deeds in the Day of Judgment. And you go to hellfire or to go to paradise based on your action. So if you carrying this responsibility in front of Allah, why we don't trust the youth to carry the responsibility? I get a hard time sometimes to convince the masjids, the committee of the masjids, where I live. Tell them, why we don't give the youth a bigger role in the society? Let them handle this project. Let them run this show. Let them be the one who in charge of this. So many times they feel, oh, they're just kids, they didn't know. It's not kids, he's 21 years old. He's 19 years old. You know that Usama bin Zayd led an army, whereas Abu Bakr and Umar in this army, and he was what, 18 years old?
Yeah.
The most knowledgeable person in halal and haram, Mu'adh ibn Jabal. The head of all the scholars, the Prophet ﷺ said. And guess what? Mu'adh ibn Jabal, he became Muslim when he was also 18 years old. And died when he was 32 years old. So he became Muslim when he was youth and died when he was still youth. But he's the head of all the scholars. Imam Ahmad used to give fatwa when he still has no single hair in his face because he's too young. People trust these people with knowledge, with hadith, with leading the Muslim ummah, and they're still in a very, very young age. So why we don't look at our youth in this way? I would like to change that and take this off our mind that youth cannot carry responsibility. We need to raise them to be that way.
Sheikh Waleed, we'll take a break now with a report. We'll be back in a couple of minutes to continue, the rest of the program.
A Muslim character in itself is not built. A human being is not built. Actually, a human being creates himself. So basically, each person has a different way of building his own character, building his own self. This is the complexity of the human soul. So basically, what each one has to do is, in his own way, try to look more deep into his religion.
To build a good relationship with him, and to do the commands of Islam, and to pray. A lot of things to do, to worship.
One cannot have religion without worship. But basically, worship is the base of a certain religion. So proving to yourself that you are in this religion is through worship, and basically worship in Islam is revolves around the 5 pillars: prayer, fasting, and the rest. So this is basically the worship that makes one in the religion. Because I can say I am a Muslim, but what proves that I am a Muslim is that I actually worship the God of this religion.
Welcome back. Muhammad, before answering your question about how to be religious, why don't we try and find out, or I'll ask some of the other guests as well as yourself in a moment, about what it means to be religious, or what's the meaning of religious? Abdullah, to start with.
I think this is a very hard question to understand. Some people, to understand the meaning of a word, they just open the dictionary and they look into the meaning of this word. And some others look into what is this word in reality, how they give an image for a religious. So and this is the problem when they turn on TVs, movies, media and stuff. So actually the term religious is linked to something which is extremist, which is terrorist, which is someone who is who's doing something bad.
So in your opinion, what's religious then? If that's what the media sometimes depicts, what's
Yeah,
your own opinion?
This is kind of manipulation. We have to understand. So we have to understand what is the word religious. So the terms that you know that we live in a world that people a lot of people are not religious at all. They don't believe that even God exists. So those people, they might trying to give a bad image to Muslims. So we have to take this into consideration and not to just follow from this perspective or this one. We have to be fair.
We have to understand and see exactly what religious means. Muhammad?
For me, a religious person is simply the one who sticks to the pillars of Islam. The one who observes the 5 obligatory prayers, who fasts Ramadan, who pays the zakah, who is dutiful to his parents, who deals in goodness with people, and he is the one who tried to avoid the major sins and stay away, of course, from the minor sins as much as he can.
Okay.
Yeah.
And finally, Muhammad.
To be religious means to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He should find you where He commands you to be there. He shouldn't find you where He forbidden you not to be there. So
how would you think religious then would be? That you would just, for example, by praying, would that be enough for you? And personally speaking, would that make you a religious person just by performing the 5 daily prayers, for example?
Of course not. The religion is not just based upon prayer. There are many things which a person must do in order to be religious. It's not only prayer. There are many other things: being kind to his relatives, being kind to his neighbors, being kind to his parents, obeying Allah as he should be obeyed. Not just prayers. But I just wanted to raise a question here. How can a youth strike a balance between fulfilling his religious duties as a youth and at the same time fulfilling his desires?
Okay, Sheikh Waleed, before answering that question, if you could just give us a bit more insight into the meaning of the word religious, and then, of course, we'll move to that question.
Yeah. Being religious or worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we start the episode, our episode is about, worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or in other words, being religious. To define this, we need to know what worshipping Allah means. Worshipping, or the Arabic word for that is ubudiyya. To be abdulillah, slave to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ubudiyya, it means that you obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to obey Him out of love and respect. That you love Him so much and you respect Him so much, that's why you obey Him. Because when you love somebody, you obey Him. If you love someone so much, you obey Him. And if you respect someone so much, you also obey them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who will be loved the most. You love Him the most and you respect Him the most. So we're expecting the result to obey Him the most. That's what being slave to Allah, that's what ubudiyya is really all about. The first meaning for being religious, for being among those who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that means you are sincere in your worship and you only worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first level, the first step, the foundation of that is to be muwahhid, which singling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't worship any other beside Allah. Any other one beside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 2, that you take your religion and the source of your religion all goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't make your own religion. You don't worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based on your desire. No, you follow His messenger. And basically, I got my papers falling down here. The second part of the Shahada, which Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His messenger. It means that I worship Allah in the way that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught me. So that's required from the religious person to understand what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about Islam and about what will please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what will displease Him. Going farther. Now we came to the religion that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have sent down to us, which is the religion of Islam. So basically, I worship Allah alone. 2, I follow His messenger. 3, I know what His religion is and I practice. The problem comes here because I always say religion or being religious or have iman or faith has basis, has a start point, but I cannot tell you it has an end point. There is no point you reach, you said, okay, I'm now completed everything. I'm the religious, super religious person. Or I completed my worshipping to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm the best man. There is nothing like that. Allah said, وَاعْبُدْ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى أَتِيَكَ الْيَقِينَ. Worship Allah until death, until you die, or until you die. So that means there is no really limit for that. It's something open for you. It's like you do your best. So being religious, it means I have to know what's the foundation. That's why I'm saying the foundation is the tawheed. The foundation is to fulfill the pillars of Islam, which is the salat, the 5 pillars everybody knows. And after that, I know that there is something said great obligations in Islam. Great obligations. And no doubt one of the most important things, being good to your parents, being good to people, giving da'wah to others, the good manners that you carry when you deal with people. And on the other hand, you avoid the major sin in Islam. And the worst sin ever you can meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with, killing an innocent person, or committing fornication, or a'udhu billah, to steal from somebody, or to being bad to your neighbors, to your friend, to the people around you, to have bad manners in general. This is one of the sins that the Muslim should not meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with. Also dealing with interest, which is riba, usury. This is one of the major sins. And everybody can think about those more in details, and as much as he learned, as much as practice. And you growing up in your worshiping. So basically, my answer will be being religious. It's if you have the foundation, you have a religion. You are a religious person. But as much as again, your religion became more perfect, much better, and higher level in iman.
But can one commit minor sins and still be considered to be religious?
Yeah, even major sin. If you commit a major sin and you repent to Allah, you're still religious. Among the Sahaba radiallahu anhum who have committed adultery, who have drank alcohol, it doesn't mean that he's out of the religion, but he never insists in doing it. He never insists in doing it. That's why some scholars add to this. They said a person who will not insist on a sin, cannot be considered as the best Muslim, or has a high level of iman. You know what I'm saying? But the person also who will not commit sin openly, different from the person who will commit it secretly. The person who doesn't care is different from the person who cares and he knows that he's mistaken and he asks Allah to forgive him, he asks Allah to help him to be a better Muslim. He's still religious. That's what I want to make sure that this is clear. Understood. Because some people, when they think about religious, he think about he or she with certain sign. Like for example, if you don't look like that, you're not religious. Or you look like that, you're completely religious. Then automatically when you say religious, you think about perfect person, which is wrong. So I think religion has a base to start from, but it doesn't have an end point. It's a level where you can grow up in your iman until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how far you can go.
But Allah, Sheikh, it saddens me that sometimes some of the brothers might look at me and say that I'm not religious. I say, why? Because you don't have a beard and you don't wear short robes. So, what do you think?
Is it only about appearance? I mean, to rephrase that in a sense, I mean, is it about appearance? Do you have to look in a certain way to be a religious person?
Here there is a problem that the look could be part of a religion, could be not part of a religion. You know what I'm saying? But don't limit the religion in one specific point. So if you don't have this, yeah, you have problem in this area, but it doesn't mean it cancels everything else. Somebody, for example, smoking, it's a sin. I have no doubt about that. Smoking is sin. So if somebody smokes a cigarette, he committed a sin, but it doesn't mean he's not a good person. He's good, but in this specific area, he needs to work on himself. That's why I think we should focus on how to develop ourselves instead of how to criticize others and pointing finger and judging others and classifying them. Oh, he's religious, he's not religious, he's that level, that level. That's why you will never find in Sharia levels. Okay, you reach level number 1, you reach level 2, 3, mashallah, you're now on level number 36. You know, it's not like that. It's an open field for you to do your best and let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala judge you.
Okay, I'll take the answer. We'll take the answer, but in a few moments after this break, we'll be back with the answer from Sheikh Waleed, of course, to the question. Now, Sheikh Waleed, Abdullah a few moments ago was talking about the people who fear pure from inside, that some people may say that can be maybe a step towards being religious, or is that enough for somebody to be called?
Or that what it means to be religious?
Or is that what it means? Is it something from inside, or is it?
Some people say, okay, my heart is clean, that's good enough. You know, Muhammad, if I tell you, I love you for the sake of Allah, but every time I criticize you, every time I make fun of you, I never supported you when you needed me the most. Is that words I love you make any sense to you? Or I really love you, I care about you?
Of course, it doesn't mean anything.
So if you say I'm religious, but you know what? You're 24/7 busy with remembering things other than Allah. You're hanging out with the wrong crowd. You're doing the wrong things. You're not doing what Allah wants you to do. How can you tell I'm pure, my heart is good? If your heart is good, your action will be good. If your action is bad, it means there is something wrong in your heart, you need to change. This is one of the tricks that the shaitan sometimes deceive us with it, telling you that your heart is good. Okay, my heart is good, it must lead me to good deeds, to do good things. But if I'm doing wrong things, it means there is something wrong in my heart. In my faith, I need to change it. I need to purify really my heart. And that shows us that ubudiyyatullah, worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is not words, is not something you imagine, okay, I'm good. No, it's really practicing the religion. When Islam became your way of life, of your daily life, and also that shows you that also being religious, it doesn't mean that you have no fun. It doesn't mean that you isolate yourself from the society. It doesn't mean that you have to do everything at once. Being religious, it means it's a very wide area, so it's step by step. You're going gradually up. But don't stop, because either you are climbing up or falling down. That's the way this iman, this is the way your iman is. Either you're going up or you're falling down. And also shows us that this is levels. There is somebody up there, somebody here, somebody in the middle, somebody down there. So it's not one level. It's not one level. That's why when we deal with each other, we have to take this in consideration.
Sheikh Waleed, then, is there a key way, or is there a key to being religious? How can one to grow up to be a religious person, or growing up being religious?
I think to answer these questions, there is two people responsible here. The youth himself, he or she, that the one who, now if you are a youth, you want to be among those who will be in the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What you need to do, that's one thing. The other thing I think we should also, as you said in the beginning, the parents, what's their role in this whole issue? As for the youth, I think there is so many points I can share with the youth to help us, if I can include myself, if you allowed me, to be a worshipper and to be righteous and to be religious. One, really I thank every youth who asks this question. Any person, he or she, ask me and approach me and tell me, Sheikh, how can I be religious? I first say, thank you for asking me this question. Because that shows that you have a concern.
You want to be.
You want to be. You have the will. And believe me, this is step number one. If you have the will, if you have the intention, if you want to be this one, you will be, insha'Allah ta'ala. Also, I want to tell you, if you want to be religious while you are youth, you have to know that being youth, it doesn't mean that you will live a long life. Some people think that way. If you are a youth, remember, you might die tomorrow. You know, how many old people, you see? Not much, because they die earlier. You know, only few people can live that long. Most of the people by the way die early, and especially in certain society, in certain countries. So don't think you're going to live all life. I still have, mashallah, 30 years. If you want to be religious, think from now that my life might not be that long. Also, remember that you're responsible. You have responsibility in your shoulder towards this ummah. Not only towards your own dreams. So many youth, they think only about their own dreams. How many of us thinks about the ummah, the Muslims ummah, the Muslim world, the society that you're living in?
But there is problems that we have to tackle. These problems are very great, that makes the youth could not be able to understand. And they might step forward and then fall, and then to step back, you know. So because there are so many things, so we need to have something practical to tell the youth to follow, to do this and this and this. And I mean, first of all, I think that if they became dependent, if they stop to become dependent on their parents, I mean, to be independent, to have their own, to be responsible for their own life.
But Abdullah, do you agree with me that there is so many youth, they don't feel that they are responsible of changing the situation around them or the society around them?
But they don't know how.
I give you an example. Do you have, for example, in your family member people, you know that they don't know the religion in the proper way? Everybody have those kind of people in his family, that's right. I know so many family members, they are not religious. They are not religious. Oh, they don't know what the rules of Sharia is. How many of us felt that, you know, it's my responsibility to educate myself about my deen, to read Al-Quran and Sunnah, to attend to classes, to learn the deen, and to try to change my mother, my father, my sisters, my uncles, my family, my neighborhood. I know that I cannot do that without learning. So the point is you to feel the responsibility. I know that my ummah, my country, my society needs lawyers, need good people in public relation, good people in media, good people in politics. Do I feel that I need to prepare myself now? Good. So when I take a position tomorrow, I will change. You know what happened to many of our youth? They are depressed. They don't feel that they have a future. They don't feel that they can make a change in
the future. Who's to blame for that?
I think the people, the youth themselves first
play a part.
They play a part of it. Because the best we think of, the best thing we can think of, that we will be just grow up, take a shahada, a degree on that side. We don't think that we can make a difference. If you have that in your heart, you will start act upon this. But if you see yourself small, you will live small, you will die, you will leave this world without being noticed. You know, there is a famous say. It says, people like zeros. It depends where you put them. If you put 100 zeros in the left of the number, it means nothing. But if you put 1 0 on the right side of the number, it means something. As much, it depends where you see yourself. You know, you have to have that feeling inside your heart. We have to revival the spirit. You know, in the Muslims' history, you see the youth used to look that way, that they will be leader. There is part, and that's why we're going to talk about parents, about older members in the community. But I think it starts from the youth themselves.
What about then things like, what are the aspects then? I mean, if that's what youth themselves have to initiate or have to feel that they can make a difference. If we return back to the issue of growing up as a religious person or a worshipping person.
I think one of the main advice I would say here, that always remember that the gate of Tawbah is always open. That if you commit a sin, don't say it's the end of the world.
Many people feel that way, but it is the end.
And you know what? Sometimes we say, Sheikh, I will be hypocrite. So I don't want to be religious. Because I'm religious, and if I commit sin today and I go to the masjid, I feel hypocrite. You know what? Let me leave the whole deed.
And continue doing the hypocrite.
Some sisters, they cannot wear hijab when they go to work because maybe the environment will not help them. So what they do, they don't wear hijab when they go to work, but they wear hijab when they go to the masjid. So she said, you know what? I'm hypocrite. Let me take off hijab completely. I think the shaitan, when he convinced you to do that, he deceived you twice. At least, you know, this is the way I look at it. 1 better than 0. 10 better than 1. If you cannot be full-time muhajjaba, if you can say that, at least this is one step. But have the intention to change, to grow up. If you do not wake up for Fajr, don't leave Dhuhr. Make up Fajr and promise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you will do. And that leads me to the second point, which is struggle. You will not be religious just by wishing. You have to struggle. Allah said, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Those who struggle for the sake of Allah, Allah will guide them. Sufyan al-Thawri said, I struggle with night prayer, or qiyam al-layl, 20 years. But I enjoyed it 20 years. 20 years he tried to wake up in the night and to pray. But 20 years he couldn't make it. But after 20 years he enjoyed it. So don't give up as a youth, struggle. Mujahadat al-nafs. And also, understanding Islam in the right way will help you a lot to be religious. You have to understand the right concept of Islam. I think our biggest problem in the society, not the sin that people commit. I think the biggest problem in the society is not the sins or the ma'asi or the wrong things that we do. Because everybody doing something wrong or did something wrong in his life. But the biggest problem that we don't have the right understanding of the religion. We have so many misconceptions about religion. We don't understand the meaning of La ilaha illallah. We don't understand the meaning of the predestiny, al-qadar. We don't understand even the simplest things. I remember once we talked about some issue very common among Muslims, and so many people, they're not aware of the meaning of it. So what I'm trying to say, we are living in a day where so many youth, they don't understand the religion.
And I think, Sheikh, the understanding Islam in the proper way will come only by one way. That's to seek knowledge by sitting to the trustworthy scholars.
Yes, salam.
That's it.
Providing knowledge to the youth going to the source of knowledge, learning from the moderate Muslim who promote Islam in the right perspective are the key to change. And I think also your friends. They have a great role in your life. You know, they have a saying, Man sahib al-musallin salla. If you hang out with people praying, you will end up praying. وَمَنْ صَاحِبِ الْمُغَنِّينَ غَنَّ. If you live with people who all what they care about singing and dancing and partying all the day, every day, you end up partying with them. So that's the point. Good friends will have good impact in your life. That will going to help you to stay religious and to grow worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay. Sheikh Waleed, any other points concerning how youth can be religious or how they can worship Allah properly?
I know that there is so much temptation out there. I know there's so many things calling the youth not to be committed to the religion, not to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants them to do. But one thing I found it very helpful, that you have to develop this habit, that you always remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Always Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names should be there in your mind, in your heart, in your tongue. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah, astaghfirullah. So if you see something not right, astaghfirullah. If it became like a habit, it will help you to prevent yourself from so many things. Because usually you can do that while you're doing something wrong. Always I got this question. Sheikh, I am a very heavy smoker. I smoke a lot. And I want to quit, but I don't know how to quit smoking. And alhamdulillah, I was able to make several people quit smoking by this advice. I told them, if you want to quit smoking, always remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because I haven't ever seen somebody smoking, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. Have you ever seen that? Ever somebody inhaling the tobacco and while saying, subhanallah, alhamdulillah? No. Dhikrullah and smoking will never be together. So if you really want to get rid of smoking, replace that bad habit with tasbih, with saying alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah. It will help you a lot. Also, be aware from certain kind of sins. There is two types of sins. I'm not talking about major sin. No, there is two types of sins. Some sins, they will turn to be a habit. And some sin, you maybe do it once and you're not going to do it again unless there is a reason for it to happen. But there is some kind of sins, they will turn to be a habit, such as drugs. If you do it once, you will do it again, and 3 and 4, and you'll be addicted. Smoking. Also, listening to music and building a relationship with the opposite sex. That's a habit. That's something the person, if he develop it, he will be a player, or she will be always love to change from one man to another, talking to him in the phone. Be aware from such sin, because when you do it, when you enter that road or that path, you find yourself falling down. It's not like a sin you do it once and you will not do it again because maybe the reason for it, it's not there. One thing also, I think it will help you a lot as a youth to stick to your religion. I think is to take care of that, to manage your time. Don't kill your time. We have a habit, I want to kill a day. I have 2 hours to kill. Okay, what? 2 hours to kill? If you have 2 hours to kill, please give it to me. Don't say, I don't have anything to do. Make sure that you're busy. And busy with what? With various things, with different things. It's not only about praying, reading. No. Go to the gym, work out, start a new good sport, a good hobby that you involve in it. This way will help you to maintain your iman and to go smoothly up one step after another. Don't rush. Don't try to reach 10 before going up the 6 and 7 and 8 and so on. I think this will help the youth a lot too, growing up, worshipping Allah. There's a lot if you think about it, but I think this will be good.
Those are some of the concise points. Sheikh Waleed, we've spoken about the youth themselves. I mean, what do the parents play? What's the role of parents, for example? What's the role of older people? Let's take the opinion of some of the younger guests who are with us at the moment.
I think that we have to go back to the beginning of the family. How a man should choose his wife. So if we have taken what Islam and what the teaching of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, I think this is the best solution in order to not to have problems in the future. So if you choose the religious one, you give your son the right name.
You give the right basis as well.
The basis and also to try to make your son or child, to make him independent, to not to over control him. You're just watching him and see what he's gonna do, and let him gain his experience in order to learn, not to control him and not to not to set free his creativity and
Okay, let's take Muhammad as well.
Yeah, I have two things the parents can do. The first one is that the father has to provide the family with lawful provision or to earn by lawful means.
Halal.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's very important. Because here I remember a saying of a righteous man who used to say, I أعرف مخارجكم من مداخلكم. I know your output from your income. So if you have troubles at home, if you have a disobedient son, that will be because of your income, the provision you
Might
provide.
be caused by the,
Might be
the
caused
source
by
of
that.
your
Yeah,
income.
the second, I want to add is the supplication.
Yes.
The parents should pray for Allah to guide their
children. So.
children.
Okay, Muhammad,
Yeah,
quickly.
I think in this regard it is the responsibility of the parents to provide their children with good education, and much emphasis must be placed here on the religious education, the kind
as well.
of education, the religious education. You know, they should be fully concerned that their children learn about the Quran, recite it the proper way, learn about hadith and sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Perhaps they might in the future become a jurist or something like that. So religious education is a necessity here.
Okay, Sheikh Waleed.
So
The final
teaching them the
summary.
knowledge, not the culture. We care about transferring our culture to them more than the religion. And when we teach them the religion, we have to teach them from step one why they do that. Because Allah said that. Because the Prophet ﷺ said that. You don't teach your children how to pray just because it's pray. Tell them that's how the Prophet ﷺ prayed. Make sure that you teach them the meaning of Tawheed, worshipping Allah, the dangers of shirk. You know, Yaqub alayhi salam, أم كنتم شهداء إذ حضر يعقوب الموت. When Yaqub about to die, he brought all his children. Now, all his children were what? Prophets. And what he told them, what you are going to worship after me. He emphasizing the importance of Tawheed to his children. رَبِّ جْنُبْنِي وَبَنِيَّ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ. Oh Allah, may me and my children away from or prevent us from worshipping the idols. Who said that? Ibrahim, talk about Ismail and his sons, all of them are prophets as well. So this is very important. I think we need to raise our children on the best quality and manners. You need to teach your children from the early age the meaning of patient. Being patient. That has a lot to do with his personality in the future. The meaning of being generous. The meaning of respecting other. The meaning of being merciful, forgiver, calm person. You don't make fun of people. You don't push. You're not a pushy person. Teach them this kind of quality, this kind of manners, which will make them good in future and be capable of carrying more responsibility, practicing the religion. You know, it's very important to provide them the right environment. School, choose the masjid, the neighborhood, the house. Don't bring to your house all kind of TV channels, unlimited access to internet, and tell me why my child, my son or my daughter are not religious. Make sure that you watch also your children. And here I want to say something. There is a big difference between having doubts about your son or your daughter and being a person who watching them and try to guide them. And that leads me also to tell all the parents. If you don't have a good relationship with your son, with your daughter, don't expect to have influence on them. If you're not their friend, if you're not your son's best friend, your daughter's best friend, how you expect her or him to come to you and to share with you their concern? Be their best friend. Try to gain their trust. It might sound weird to you, but believe me, you need to gain your son's trust and your daughter's trust and respect. By what? By being model to them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala it's a big responsibility. It's a hard thing to grow up worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you can make it.
It's a mutual role. Parents and their children and their parents, of course, take on the responsibility. Sheikh Waleed, always a pleasure having you with us. Thank you, of course, for joining us, Sheikh Waleed Basyouni. Also, Abdullah, Muhammad and Muhammad, thank you for joining us. Thank you all for watching the program. Back again soon with more topics on Youth Talk.
la 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 la